Hello, and welcome back to What's on My Mind. I'm your host, Thomas, and today I will be discussing... I don't even know what. Honestly, I'm just going to wait for something to come to mind. Today I will be discussing typewriters, just because I like typewriters. So, I've probably mentioned this in a video at one point or another. I still have, a good few videos in the works. At the time of this recording, I have a few more videos in the works that I'm going to get out to the great, insert word here that is, not insert word here, but just the great, yeah, I have no idea how to describe this. The great, English. English is weird. Can we just get that out of the way? English is a very strange language. And, like I said, this is going to be rambly. English is a very strange language. It's not phonetic in the slightest. There's so many things that are just weird about it. And that's a whole other topic for a whole other video. But typewriters, and what they're used for, why I like them, how they work somewhat, because I really only understand part of that, and I don't want to go into it at 2:30 in the morning, and I might just do that later. I might do might be the start of a series of videos about typewriters, because if you know me at all, you know that I love typewriters. And if you know who I am as a person, then... If you know who I am personally, then... Hi, thanks for coming to watch my YouTube channel. But I like typewriters. And the reason that I like typewriters is not a common reason for liking a specific thing. I like them because they are cool, for one. And for the other, they are... Is that too much light? And for the other... Ooh, that's actually not lighting. For the other, they are just remarkable machines. And I think that the typewriter is an underappreciated tool of the trade of the writer. I personally have many of them. I have 13. They're all older than I am, which I know I am not that old, but they are all older than I am. My oldest one is more than 100 years old, and I love that thing. I adore that thing completely. It's the background on most of my devices. And the newest one I have is probably early 80s. Oldest one I have is from 1916, so that's a fairly significant range. But first, a little bit of history, obviously, because this wouldn't do the typewriter or la máquina de escribir justice. And another thing you'll know about me is I speak in all manner of languages. I'm really only fluent in English and Spanish. I am biliterate in English and Spanish. That is the extent of the language that I have. However, I do know phrases in other languages like Russian, French, Irish Gaelic. Really can only say one thing, or two. I know how to say duck in Gaelic, which is lacha. I know two or three, or I know several words in many languages. Some of them are useful, some of them are less useful than others. but they're all cool and they're all fun. I tried learning Welsh at one point. I could say the longest town name in Wales. Um, I can make a short about that at some point, but the longest town name in Wales, please look it up. Uh, I cannot say, however, the name of the longest hill, or the longest name of anything, which is actually is the chemical formula for, the chemical name for Titan, which is the protein in the human body, and it's like, I believe it is 189,819 characters. It takes 3 hours to say completely, and it is ridiculously long. I can I can't say the name of the hill in New Zealand, uh, which is just which is understandable because it's hard to say and it's long. I can say the longest word in the English dictionary, but enough about my language. Typewriters. That's why we're here. So, the typewriter was invented in 1874. Or the first commercially successful typewriter was hit the market in 1874. And the first commercially successful typewriter was made in Milwaukee in the machine shop of C.S. Kleinstube and Sons. And the reason I'm saying this is because this is important for the story. There is a very good documentary out there called California Typewriter, and again, not sponsoring. Look it up if you want to see it. I'm not going to post it because it's very long and I can't get the rights to it. However, it features Tom Hanks and a few other people that are famous, like Sam Shepard and John Mayer, who's a musician. But the first commercially successful typewriter was made in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it was invented by a man named Christopher Latham Scholes. Now, Christopher Latham Scholes was a relatively interesting person. He was a state senator for a while. He was an inventor. He was kind of the 19th century version of a Renaissance man. Somewhat. He was a thinker, he was a statesman, he was a politician. This is a little bit like Benjamin Franklin, but not really. I mean, the politician in the inventor part, yes. The other things, no. But the other thing that I will say about Christopher Latham Scholes is that he was a very, very, very talented inventor. And for many years prior to him creating the first commercially successful typewriter, there were people who were trying to make a machine that could write more quickly than using a pen and paper or a pencil and paper. And in 1874, he created the first commercially successful typewriter, and it was not really picked up much by companies. So he brought it to Remington and Sons, which had been making weapons of destruction, which had been making, in the words of Arlo Guthrie, implements of destruction for the Civil War, and they needed something new to mass produce because the Civil War was over and it had been long over. It had been over for almost 10 years. So they picked up Scholes' typewriter, and it became known as the Scholes and Glidden, or the Remington No. 1. And an interesting fact about the Remington No. 1 is it contained the first appearance of the QWERTY keyboard on a typewriter, on a keyboard. And the layout of that keyboard soon became standardized, because what's better than just good than is standardized. Now, the interesting thing about the Scholes and Glidden is it took a while for it to catch on. Sorry, I just gotta adjust my seat here. it wasn't really successful at first because not many people could type. And no one at the time, and obviously this is all not my own, this is not my own research, this is from California Typewriter, and please check that out if you want. No one could really type, and people didn't really see the benefit of using a machine like this. But the place that it caught on was in offices, with specifically secretaries, because after it was invented, there was actually a course, I believe it was a 6-month course, on how to type. It was for mainly women at the time, and this is another interesting fact about the typewriter. It helped to facilitate women's suffrage, which I'll touch on in a bit. The typewriter was used in offices by secretaries who were trained. There weren't a lot of them. Their positions were filled fairly quickly, and it was actually fairly good because they were getting paid more than women who were teaching and as school teachers. And teachers are incredibly important, and I know many teachers, and they are all amazing human beings, and I respect them immensely, and they have a lot of courage to present information to a group of people that will be beneficial to them in the future, in their careers or in their life, and that is not something that is easy to learn or to do, and that impresses me beyond measure. But at the time, teachers weren't really being paid all that well, unfortunately. And sorry, I keep wheeling my arm over here. My screen keeps freezing. And at the time, they weren't really being paid as well as the men, because it was the 1800s and early 1900s, and wage discrepancies among gender were still very common. And unfortunately, they are fairly common now, still. It seems like we haven't gone anywhere because in the past, I don't know, 10 years we've gone back. I have a whole other video about that if you want to watch that, and I thoroughly recommend that one. It will be in the end of the video if you want to click on that and watch that one after this one. But more on typewriters, because obviously So, more on typewriters. The way that the typewriter helped to facilitate women's suffrage is it allowed women to enter the workforce in greater numbers. And if women were entering the workforce in greater numbers, they were more apt to know about things that were happening in the world, just as how that works. And Christopher Latham Schultz was very happy that his invention helped win women the right to vote. Obviously, that was in 1920, but still, it was a step in the right direction for women's rights. And still, there are numerous ways that is trying to be over. There are numerous things that are going down the path of the opposite of what I would call women's rights. Again, see the other video. But, again, more on typewriters. This is a very rambling video. I'm sorry. And they're all like this. But the typewriter is... I just like them. They're cool. And another reason I like them is because Tom Hanks is an avid collector. He has most likely more than 200 machines in this collection, including one of the ones that I have. Actually, including probably many of the ones that I have. I can guarantee it has an IBM Selectric, which I own. The Selectric is an amazing machine. It's electric. It is the one with the golf ball type element, if you know what that is. Essentially, it's just that all characters are raised off of a steel rotating ball that hits that moves and strikes the. I know that looks like a weird hand gesture, but it essentially the type ball acts as the type bars on a normal or on a more standard design typewriter. So a little bit about Typewriter and then I'm going to be throwing out a bunch of words. So the type bars are the rods with the letter on them that hit the page and the ink and cause the letter to form. The platen is the roller, and it annoys me when people say roller. So it is a platen. That is P-L-A-T-N. P-L-A-T-E-N. The carriage return lever is the lever that when you hear the cute little bell at the end of the line, you can go shink, and it goes all the way over. And then, obviously, there's the keys, there's the ribbon, there's the basket, which is just the collective name for all the type bars. There's the escapement, which is another term that is hard to describe. If a viewer of this video would like to learn more about typewriter mechanics and typewriter repair or typewriter parts, visit. There are myriad. There are, I will say, tens of dozens of, probably tens of resources and videos and channels and podcasts and websites, books, manuscripts, papers, readings, Petronellian ephemera, if you like technical manuals or stuff. There are resources out there for you to learn about typewriter mechanics. I'm not going to go into much detail about them because I don't want this video to be an in-depth technical explanation of the typewriter, because that's not really what I designed it to be. And B, I really don't want videos to be 3 hours long. If they are 3 hours long, it's going to be a live stream, and I am probably just going to live stream sitting here talking to myself, which is what I'm doing right now. But lost my train of thought there for a second. Typewriters. The typewriter has recently, or as of late, garnered a bit of a reputation as another alternative to using a computer or a word processor. I'm going to use those two terms interchangeably. A word processor is just something that allows you to edit text while you're writing. As a typewriter, as only some typewriters are able to do that because of how the ink works. It's easier to do on a carbon ribbon than on a fabric ribbon. And there are two types of ribbons. There's carbon, there's fabric. Carbon is plastic with essentially just pencil shavings on one side. The plastic ribbons, the carbon ribbons are just carbon on one side of a plastic piece of long plastic. Fabric ribbons are just ink-soaked cotton that's soaked in two different colors of ink. Both are good. One is a little bit more, one has a little bit more crisp makes a little bit more crisp of a character than the other, but they're both good. They both work. And the thing that I would say is the best thing about a typewriter is, well, at least for me, and this is completely my own opinion, but you can't go back. And what I mean by that is you can't get rid of something you've already written. Now, you can if you use correction fluid. You can if you have a correcting feature on your typewriter, if you have a typewriter, which, if you have a typewriter, thank you for watching this video, as another reason why people are using them. But the reason that I have a typewriter is I can't go back. I can backspace and X something out, but it is still there. What I wrote does not cease to exist. It just is no longer pertinent information to what I'm writing. And I type over everything. I don't bother with correction fluid. I don't bother with erasing, or because you can't erase ink. What am I talking about? I don't bother with tape strips of correction fluid, because those are a lot of time to go through and correct everything you've written in a thing that's remotely spelled incorrectly. Because another thing I love about them is you can't go backwards, so you can't really edit the stuff that you write. So hammer out a first draft on a typewriter, sit down, type it out on a computer or a word processor, and then edit from there. It works. For me, at least, it works. If it works for you, or if you see this video and think that it would work for you, and you try it, you try a way to limit distractions while you're doing a first draft, please ping away in the comments, because I want to hear about it. And if you're not comfortable sharing something like that, you don't have to. This is a safe space. You are not required to speak your mind about everything. I just like feedback on what I'm doing. So now, in recent years, the typewriter has had a bit of a resurgence. Obviously, I mentioned the movie California Typewriter. There have been numerous books that have come out. Tom Hanks wrote a book called Uncommon Type, which is a recommendation from yours truly. And yeah, so it just... Now, if you want to purchase a typewriter, I have one of two recommendations. First of all, don't look on eBay, because they will be very expensive. Go to an antique mall, or go on online buying and selling out that isn't eBay or Amazon, because Amazon doesn't really have typewriters that are vintage. They have the new ones that, I kid you not, are awful, and I would never buy one, because they are way too expensive, and they are very cheaply made, and they do not hold up. The thing about a typewriter is, well, it is a delicate machine. It should be able to be dropped 2 feet and not budge. It should be able to be dropped 2 feet and not budge. If I did that with one of the new ones, it would break the second I let go of it, or the second I looked at it funny. They're not the same as the old ones. They will never be the same. No company is going to make a great typewriter ever again. And that is tragic in many ways, because one, they're fantastic machines, and the quality ones need to come back. And no, and no shame towards the companies that are making the new typewriters. I just don't like them, and I don't think that they are as good as the. I don't think they're as good as the original ones. They just don't have the same level of care put towards them in their construction that the vintage ones do. That the vintage ones have. And typewriters are the writer's tools of old. The IBM Selectra got us to the moon. Or got Americans to the moon, at least. I know. Ernest Hemingway had Smith Corona, had a Corona number 3, which is still on my list. Because I like it folds. The carriage folds down. Carriage is the part that moves. It folds down and goes into a little carrying case. I love that thing. That thing looks really cool. I don't have one. I just like it. I've got a very cool Olympia SM9 that is just stunning, and it looks really great. I've got a Hermes 3000 from the mid-60s. Yes, I do have that one. No, it's not the very rare one. It's just semi-rare one. Which that thing is in absolutely fantastic shape. I love it. I love that machine so much. It's right here. And I'll bust it out in another video at some point. Possibly in the sequel to this one. So stick around and stay tuned. Like I said, smash the like button, do all the stuff. It lets the algorithm know that you like my videos, and it will recommend more of them to you. I know I say that a lot, but seriously, I'm just trying to get my to get the content on my channel out into the world. Now, with the typewriter renaissance of recently, it has been much more about using the typewriter as, oh, I have writer's block and my therapist said, go back to the typewriter, or I never left the typewriter, or I'm discovering it for the first time. And everyone has a different reason for picking up the typewriter. For some it's creative, for some it's meditative, for some it's just aesthetic and style, and you use it ironically, which I get. It's cool. They are unique machines. Each one of them I consider has its own personality. Now, I'm in no means an engineer. I'm in no means an expert on the typewriter. I like typewriters. I like old adding machines. I like old calculators. I like stuff that does stuff well. And typewriters do one thing very well. They write. Yes, they can create art. Like the typewriter images, where it's like all made out of the characters and letters. And those are cool too. But really, they're just there to write. And you're there to take yourself and have it as an extension of your hands and your brain creating on a surface. So that's why I like typewriters. But if you want to purchase a typewriter, I'm just going to say, go on Facebook Marketplace. That's where you're going to find one. Or that's where you're going to at least see more of them that are within a reasonable price range than eBay. Unfortunately, eBay is more the machines that are very expensive. Go to flea markets, go to thrift stores, go to antique malls, go to antique shops, go to Goodwill, Salvation Army. Not sponsored. Should really stick a card like in the corner whenever I say something that could be seen as, yeah. But anyway, yeah. If you want to buy a typewriter, go ahead. There's nothing stopping you. If you want to, if you don't want to buy a typewriter, again, don't buy the typewriter. If you don't want to buy a typewriter, I'm not going to say that you need to or that you should. That's not who I am. I'm not going to force any opinions on anybody. I just want to say that if you feel that you would benefit from a typewriter, great. If you don't know if you would benefit from a typewriter, try one out. If you've never tried a typewriter, I'd recommend trying one out. And obviously these are all opinions and recommendations, but just being able to openly express your thoughts and opinions on a sheet of paper without a red squiggly line or a blue squiggly line slowing you down is essential for any writer. So, yeah, typewriters, get some today. Thank you for watching, and as always, make sure you like, subscribe, send notification bell thingy. It lets the forever algorithm of this of la media social or social media or YouTube tell me what to create and how to go about making more videos like these. And obviously these videos are just interesting and they're not really meant to cause anything negative, and that's the main point of them. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed. If you think of another topic for a video that I could cover that I've mentioned in any of the videos that I've released so far, please do not hesitate to comment on it. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.